urogenital swelling. Next one is the most important structure, which is uterus. Uterus is a muscular organ, thick-walled muscular organ. It lies between the urinary bladder and rectum. Anteriorly, it is related to the urinary bladder. Posteriorly, it is related to rectum. On either side, lateral side, it is connected to broad ligament. Okay. The uterus is again divided into body and cervix. Body, isthmus, and cervix. Body is upper part of uterus, and isthmus is the in between body of uterus and body and cervix. Body of uterus, there are 3 layers in the uterine wall. They are perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. Why it is important? This myometrium, it is mainly muscular fibers. There are 3 layers in the myometrium: outer longitudinal, inner circular. In between, there is a crisscross arrangement of muscle fibers. This is more important. This crisscross arrangement is more important because in between the muscle layers, the blood vessels will be there. During delivery, if the muscle is relaxed, the bleeding will be more. If the uterine muscle is contracted, then it will close the vessel orifices and control the bleeding. So it is important cause for PPH. PPH means postpartum hemorrhage. The bleeding hemorrhage during delivery is atonicity of the uterus. Atonicity means relaxed uterus. Muscle is not contracting. So it is otherwise known as living ligature of uterus. The muscular layer is otherwise known as living ligature of uterus. So it is divided into bodies. This is the important thing in the body of uterus. Next one is isthmus. Isthmus is in between the body and cervix. Isthmus, there is internal loss and external loss. In between, there is histological internal loss. So the structure between anatomical internal loss and histological internal loss is called isthmus. This isthmus plays a major role because it forms the lower uterine segment during delivery, because it increases the space. Okay. Next one, the cervix. Cervix is a cylindrical shaped structure. Uterus shape is pear-shaped structure. Uterus is a pear-shaped muscular organ. It contains 3 layers. And again, the muscular layer is again divided into 3 layers: outer longitudinal, inner circular, and middle crisscross layer. And the inner layer is endometrium. Endometrium changes, you all know very well in the menstrual cycles. The changes that endometrium undergoes during menstrual cycles. First half of cycle is proliferative phase and follicular phase, then luteal phase, secretory phase or luteal phase. So this changes under the influence of hormone, ovarian hormone. It undergoes the changes during the menstrual cycle. Then we are coming to isthmus. Isthmus is it forms lower uterine segment. That's the significance of isthmus. Then cervix. Cervix is a cylindrical structure. It comes from internal loss to external loss. So why it is important? Because internal loss, the cervical lining, columnar, the lining of uterus will be columnar epithelium. Then cervix also, there's columnar epithelium. In endocervix and ectocervix, this again cervix is again divided into endocervix and extocervix. Endocervix is lined by columnar epithelium. Ectocervix is lined by stratified squamous epithelium, because endocervix, the lining coming from continues as from uterine cavity. But in ectocervix, the lining epithelium of vagina is continued. So the junction is very important. Squamo-columnar junction. It is otherwise known as transformation zone. Why it is important? Because in the transformation zone, there is a more risk for development of cancer cervix. Cancer cervix is the most common cancer malignancy in females. So there are so many screening tests, because the importance of cancer cervix is that we can detect the cancer cervix early, and there are so many screening tests even before it progresses into stage of cancer, carcinoma, we can detect the patient, and there are a lot of management, conservative management for cancer cervix. So it is very important to know about the transformation zone, because it is very risk for developing cancer cervix. So again, the body of cervix, the uppermost part of uterus is known as fundus. Fundus means this above the level of attachment of fallopian tube. You can understand with the picture. Above the level of attachment of fundus and the fallopian tube, that part is called fundus. Below that, this body of uterus. The cavity is a triangular slit-like structure. It is compressed anterior-posteriorly. Normally, the weight of the uterus will be 70 grams, but during pregnancy, it exceeds almost 1000 grams. So what is anteversion and anteflexion? Anteversion means first anteflexion. Anteflexion, the long axis of uterus with long axis of cervix. That is called anteflexion. Normally, there will be with the long axis of uterus and long axis of cervix will form an obtuse angle. That is 120 to 130 degree. What is anteversion? Anteversion means the cervix and vagina. The long axis of cervix and long axis of vagina. That forms a degree of 90 degree, angle of 90 degree. So this normally uterus is anteflex and anteversion, because this is necessary for the angulation, and in case of retroverted uterus, the patient will have severe pain. The first picture is normal anteverted and anteflexed uterus. That is, anteflexion means long axis of uterus and with long axis of cervix. Anteversion means cervix with vagina. The first one is anteverted and anteflexed uterus. Next one is retroflexed uterus. Retroflexed means the uterus is bending posteriorly. Then retroverted uterus. This retroflexed and retroverted uterus will cause severe pain during menstruation. And it is an important cause for infertility also. That's why it is important. This angulation is very important. So relations anteriorly, utrovesical pouch and superior surface of the bladder. Posteriorly is related to rectovaginal pouch of Douglas and rectum. Laterally, a broad ligament. You can see the relationship in this picture. Bladder, urethra, and anterior is related to bladder. Posteriorly, rectum and rectovaginal pouch. So blood supply is again uterine artery. It's a branch of anterior division of internal iliac artery. Lymphatic drainage, it drains into para-aortic nodes. So from cervix, it drains into internal and external iliac nodes. So anterior division of internal iliac artery leaves a branch to uterus, and again a branch to vagina. Next one is ovaries. Ovaries is a oval shaped structure situated on either side of uterus. It is connected to the lateral pelvic wall and also with the medial cornual end of the uterus by ovarian ligament. So this is the structure of ovary. It is attached to lateral wall of pelvis and also with cornual end of uterus. Normally ovary appears, this is a laparoscopic view. Normally ovary appears pearly white appearance. So the blood supply of ovary, the ovary is a branch, ovarian artery is a branch of abdominal aorta. And lymphatic drainage to para-aortic nodes. Venous drainage, IVC on the right side, left renal vein on the left side. So this shows the blood supply. So this is the cut section of ovary. You all know there are a lot of primordial follicle at birth. It develops into primary follicle. Then it undergoes changes, develop into secondary follicle, mature Graafian follicle. It ruptures and liberates the ovum. And this remaining follicle will develop into corpus luteum. This corpus luteum, when the ovum is picked up by the fimbria and it undergoes fertilization, then it will change into corpus luteum of pregnancy. Otherwise, it will degenerates and it will it cause corpus albicans. So next we'll go to fallopian tube. Fallopian tube, the length of fallopian tube is 10 centimeter approximately, and the parts of fallopian tube: interstitial, isthmus, ampullary, and infundibular. Interstitial is the narrowest part. Then isthmus part. Isthmus part, why it is important? Isthmus part where we will do tubectomy for family planning procedure, sterilization, permanent sterilization. Why isthmus is preferred? Because this isthmus, when you cut the tube around 1 centimeter in the isthmic region and ligate the tube for sterilization. If you want to recanalize, or if you want to, if the patient wants to conceive again, you can do recanalization. Recanalization results are better in isthmic region. That's why we are doing tubectomy in the isthmic region. Next one is ampulla. Ampulla is the widest part where fertilization occurs and is the site for ectopic pregnancy also. Next one is the fan-shaped infundibular with finger-like projections, that is known as fimbria. You can see in this picture. This is a fan-like structure. It's a laparoscopic structure. So this is a fan-like structure. So normally when the ovum ruptures from the ovary, this fallopian tube will cover the ovary and capture the ovum, and it travels in the with the help of microfilament. It travels through the fallopian tube, and it fertilizes with the sperm in the ampullary region. And once the after fertilization, it travels through the fallopian tube and enters the uterine cavity. The blood supply of fallopian tube is both from ovarian artery and from uterine artery. So these are the supports of uterus. Mainly the uterus laterally related to broad ligament. Broad ligament is the sheet of peritoneal fold that covers on that extends from lateral wall of uterus to lateral pelvic wall. It contains the blood vessels and fallopian tube. At the top, it is connected to fallopian tube, and it ovarian ligament is attached to the posterior leaf of broad ligament. So suspensory ligament. Next one is mesosalpinx. Next one is round ligament, broad ligament, ovarian ligament, mesoovarium, and uterosacral ligament. Apart from this, McEnroth's ligament is also there to support the uterus. So next we will move on to external genitalia. External genitalia is otherwise known as vulva. Vulva includes mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, clitoris. So mons pubis is a fatty tissue over the pubic symphysis. It supports the pubic symphysis from injury. Next one is the labia majora. It's a lateralmost thickened swelling. Then labia minora. It lies inside the labia majora. Then the labia majora, posteriorly, it is connected and it is known as posterior commissure. It joins where both the labia majora joins in the posteriorly. It is known as posterior commissure. Labia minora, when it joins in the joins posteriorly, it is known as fourchette. Anteriorly, it joins to form the clitoris. It's the erectile organ. It's called clitoris. Then, in between the clitoris and fourchette, the area is known as vestibule. This vestibule has four openings. First one is urethra. Uppermost is the urethra. Then vaginal orifice. Then in the lower part, that is anterior two-third and posterior one-third, junction of anterior two-third and posterior one-third, there is an opening of Bartholin gland duct. Then a pair of skin ducts open into the on either side of the clitoris. So these are the openings in the vestibule. So the mons pubis is the supportive structure over the pubic bone. So next one, what is Bartholin's gland? Bartholin gland is the it secretes the secretions during the sexual activity. But the significance of Bartholin gland, it's a Bartholin cyst. It's a very common problem in the gynecological OPD. Once when the gland duct is blocked by infection, it causes the accumulation of the secretion and it causes cystic formation. This cyst is the most common problem in gynec OPD. So what's the treatment for this cyst? Incision and drainage. If it is recurrently occurring, it causes Bartholin abscess. Exactly, the swelling will be anterior two-third and posterior, junction of anterior two-third and posterior one-third. So you will do, in case of recurrent abscess, you can go for incision drainage and marsupialization. Marsupialization is eversion of the edges, so that it will not collect. But once you do incision drainage, again the cyst wall will close and the secretions will collect. Again, it will cause the same recurrent cystic formation. So if you excise the cyst wall and de-roof the cyst wall and evert the cyst wall, that is eversion of evert the cyst wall, then the recurrence will be less. So last one is the perineal body. Perineal body and the perineal body is a structure which helps to prevent the prolapse if the that is torn in the during parturition or labor. The weakness of perineal body will cause the pelvic organ to prolapse. That's the common cause for perineal body injury. Is the common cause for pelvic organ prolapse. Uterus, fallopian tube, ovary, everything develops from Mullerian duct. Upper third of vagina also develops from Mullerian duct. Only lower third develops from urogenital swelling.